Yeah, you know what? My YouTube history, because I'm always searching for like movie quotes and things like that, it could probably come off as a little bit weird if I had. But you're supposed to like clear that, right?
I think so. Speaking
I don't think
of history,
I have for like 19 years.
Welcome everyone to episode 83 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Mosick, Anthony, and Steven. Hello, guys.
what's going on, fellas?
Hey, it's good to be back around the table. Fun times.
Yeah, it's fall, man. It's getting a little chilly, getting nice and crisp. The yard's popping. Nice, deep, rich green.
Well, I think your yard's popping. Mine looks like a dead straw because of the drought over here. But, you know.
And I got mine aerated, so I got all these little turds everywhere.
That's
nice.
great. That's great. That's really good for it. I love the spring will pop up really nice.
I love the yard turds. That's my favorite part of the season when it's there. So since we're sharing about our favorite things about fall, I thought I would ask you guys, has there been anything you've ever come across on the internet, or perhaps maybe just mundanely searching Google, where you've been like, I wonder how that ended up there and why am I looking at this? Has there been anything like that you can remember recently, or, you know?
I think all my Googling now is on my work computer.
Okay.
So, no.
And would that search history be something that anybody would be, worried about?
No, it'd just be Amazon.
I'm just messing with you.
It's a really loaded question, Anthony.
It is a really loaded question.
The internet is a wild place.
So I am legit sitting there with my kids today. I got home from work. They're running around screaming and yelling, and I'm just like, oh, whatever. So I go to Google News, and I'm just sifting through today's headlines, and I come across like the lifestyle section or whatever it is, like the health. It was the health section of Google News. And I find this article. This is the title of the article. Are you ready for this? I lived, dated, and had sex in a van for 4 years. Here are the answers to 6 questions people ask me. Always ask me, what on God's green earth is that about?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I've gone down the YouTube rabbit hole of converting conversion vans into living spaces.
Oh, you have?
Yes. So that's probably the first thing that came to my mind.
So has this actually been a topic of the YouTube videos? Like, how do you
no,
get
it's
down
just like
in the van?
people will basically strip apart like a Mercedes like delivery van.
Okay.
And they'll make a kitchen, a bedroom, bathroom.
Man, the pandemic's hit a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. This just sounds like it's trying to
This is
normalize
before the pandemic.
Normalizing homelessness.
You
Is
think
what it
so?
sounds like. Yeah.
Well,
So that's the first thing that came to my mind.
I was intrigued though.
Until you said sex, and then it's like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, but there's really good advice in here. Like, have a pecan close by and other weird things.
A pecan.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's, it's probably like.
For deposits?
I have no idea. All I know is this is a legit article that is suggested for me on a regular Google feed. Not like anything that I've been searching or anything.
Speaking
it's just a regular Google News. And this is on there. I mean, really, like, is that what the world's coming to now? Like, why do I want to see a news article about that? Is that really like what people are interested in?
It's
like,
clickbait, man. That, news is an antiquated source of
it's
information.
lifestyle, so I mean,
I know, but really, come on.
What's more lifestyle than homelessness?
Do you know what the first thing I thought? Well, that's true. Do you know the first thing I thought of was the Saturday Night Live sketch of Matt Foley living in a van
down by the river?
Yes, that one. So, Steven, when you were converting vans or thinking about converting vans?
Well, this goes that Michael and I have this plan, and we're going to get like some sort of a small bus,
okay,
and convert it into like a tailgate bus.
Ooh, okay,
nice.
And so that's where these videos kind of conjured from.
If you guys ever do make a tailgate bus, I hope that you will invite me. Maybe not after my my Google searching and my article, but if you do,
I would not like to see your history.
Yeah, you know what? My YouTube history, because I'm always searching for like movie quotes and things like that, it could probably come off as a little bit weird if I had. But you're supposed to like clear that, right?
I think so.
Speaking of history, I have for like 19 years.
Speaking of history,
conception of Google.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, guys, the takeaway from this article that you both were not very enthused with is just this. It's sex in a van is pretty much the same as it is outside a van, but there's much less headroom. Okay, that's a direct quote from the article. So I just thought our listeners might appreciate that particular piece of
There
advice.
is, because usually under the bed is they call it the garage area.
Oh, okay.
Or they have their inverters and their water tanks and their storage for outdoor gear.
Yeah.
That's why.
There you go. So
Doesn't sound very sanitary.
the whole thing sounds like a mess to me. Like, and I can't believe like my kids are running around the living room and I'm reading about this. Like, it just felt weird.
Big question: Sprinter van or like a ProMaster? What are you going with?
I think Dodge actually has a contract with Mercedes that they're all Mercedes. And I think that happened to a certain year. And so the big ones are those, I think it's like the 144 inch or with the 4x4. Those are like the big boys, or the dually version of that.
Right on.
But yeah, I think up to a certain point, Dodge was selling them, but they're all were Mercedes based.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird.
I'm going to go with the Sprinter because that's what the lady had as a Sprinter. So the lady in the article had a Sprinter. It looks better, and that's cool, you know.
Yeah, a little more streamlined, right?
I know what to expect now that I read the article, you know. Yeah.
We can do a deep dive.
Okay.
So Anthony, did we have any reviews this week?
We did. We had a new Facebook review, and this one comes to us from Justin West. And he said, love the stories, love the notes on the whiskeys, and love how down to earth Anthony and Steven are. They seem like the kind of guys they could sit down and share a bottle with. Oh, we shared a bottle.
Dear
Would
Lord.
be happy to tilt one back if you're ever in Northwest Indiana. Well, guess what? We're coming to Indiana.
Nice.
And if anyone else wants a shout out, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Facebook, and we'll get to you next time we record. So, gentlemen, for this week, we have a luxury bottle.
Ooh.
Luxury.
Lux.
Something you can't find on any shelf.
I'm really excited now.
We have a bottle of Knob Creek Night Year.
You fooled me there. So this
That's a little anticlimactic.
Yeah, Knob Creek Small Batch Bourbon, which is distilled by the Jim Beam or Beam Suntory Distillery. The bottle date is 2021. The ABV is 50%. Proof is 100. This is age stated at 9 years. The mash bill is 77% corn, 13% rye, and 10% malted barley. That is the Knob Booker's mash bill. And the MSRP is $29.99.
Nice.
So Knob Creek did a recent switch. Knob Creek did a recent switch to their bottle and design, and this one looks like it's been hammered with some kind of ball peen hammer there. It's really neat, really grippy too. Like it doesn't seem
There's
like it's
little indentations all around it.
Yeah, I mean it's unique. It's really neat, but I hate the new design for some reason. It's just not aesthetic to me. It's wavy. You don't see that juice is clear in my opinion. I mean, you get a lot of the reflecting light rather, and it's neat, but man, something about that short, thicker Knob Creek like bottling design just had me at hello.
It feels really good though when you pick it up.
It was a very classy, and I remember, what did we try one time? I think we tried a 12-year.
It was a pick.
It was a pick or a 12-year. I can't remember what we tried, but I know that time was right around the time they were switching this to this taller, more wavy, as you mentioned. Why do you think they do this? You know, like, because I feel like their marketing has been all over the place. Like, they've changed labels a whole bunch.
May have a lot to do with the demand for bottles, right? I mean, the glass shortage.
Maybe this is a lesser quality glass,
Or
and
less expensive to produce, right?
And they can hide the imperfections by
That's possible.
making it wavy.
Possibility, but I just know that there's been wild, a lot of changes with Knob Creek after not having any changes for the longest time. Then they went through like 3 different designs, I feel like, before they settled on this
Four
one.
Roses or Maker's Mark had a email sent out that they're repurposing their glassware.
Oh, really?
So what they're doing is they're chumming everything up. They're breaking everything down, melting down the glass, and then doing everything in house because of the pricing of the glassware. It's been insane.
Really? So distilleries are now making their own bottles? Is that
I
what
can't
you're saying?
remember if it was Four Roses.
It was
or
Makers.
Mark.
I think I read the
it
email.
was Makers. Yeah.
It came out recently.
Yeah,
I think it was
this-
Makers.
Man.
I was a little confused by like bring your bottles, or was it that?
Yeah. They encourage you to bring it back, and I don't
guess
blame them.
I got this Willet bottle they can have.
Hey, melt down the pot still, make it into some Maker's bottles. We're all good.
I'm sure somebody can make a candle out of that. For
There you
you.
go.
Yeah, no
Candle
doubt.
or a lamp.
So I'm sure you gentlemen know this, but I'll tell our listening audience this just in case people aren't aware. This is actually one of 4 of Jim Beam's key, what they call the Small Batch series products. The others are Basil Hayden's. I know that's a fan favorite. We've talked about how much we love Basil Hayden's.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, just a little tongue in cheek there. If you like 80 proof, then it's Baker's and Booker's, and of course Knob Creek. I think we previously on this show had reviewed Jim Beam Distiller's Cut. We did a bottle of Booker's. I think we did a Knob Creek 12-year 100 and the Basil Hayden Toast. That's
sounds about right.
I think that's what we hit on these. And so I guess sort of thinking about this is actually a banner year for Knob Creek. Do you guys know why?
Anniversary of some sort?
They just released a new brand commemorating that, and I think it's a Basil Hayden brand.
I think
a new release rather.
I think so, and I'm not sure which one that was. I can't remember which one it is, but I do also know that they released which age state it was. 18.
18. That little box.
Yeah, it's like in a
outline,
cool looking outline box.
That's cool. Very modern.
Yeah, that's like I think that's and I don't know if they've ever released anything that old. But I'm hoping to grab a bottle of that. Maybe we can review that in the future. But that was explicitly, I think, for the 30th anniversary.
So are you saying so Knob Creek had a celebration, an anniversary, but they decided to do something with Basil Hayden?
To commemorate that, it's a new Hardin's Creek line.
Oh, that's
okay.
right.
It's a 2-year product.
2 year.
I did see that, and I think that I remember
Is it
reading.
rye?
It's a 2-year bourbon.
It's a 2-year bourbon.
But a 2-year bourbon isn't that far-fetched for today's market, right? I mean, I think they're just following the lines in that.
And I was a big buyer of the single barrels too, but I remember that even back when I first started drinking bourbon and I wasn't a connoisseur or anything else, I just liked the taste of whiskey, so there were a couple bottles I had, and Knob Creek was usually one of those that I would go for because it felt premium, right? It felt like a premium offering, and we're talking like back in the mid-2000s. But yeah, we got spoiled really quick with those single barrel picks.
Man, it's tough. Especially if you're looking at age statement
yeah.
and price point, age statement and price point, you can't hardly beat it. Then
Yeah.
I mean, $50 for a 12-year single barrel.
Yeah.
I mean, they dumb it down to $120, but I mean,
but they got smart. Like a lot of these companies now, they are demanding money for their products, and ultimately, I mean, I don't want to get in a big philosophical debate, but have you guys seen the prices of some other what I'll call everyday bourbons lately?
I mean, not necessarily everyday bourbon in this example, but Peerless, man, they've been charging over $100 for a 2-year rye for a couple of years now.
Yeah, but I mean, you seen the price of Russell's?
It's gone outrageous.
Yeah, it's like $100. Yeah. So
for the pick, right?
Yeah. So
10-year pick.
I don't even know like what to do with that. But then I think to myself, if they're still like allowing you to get Knob Creek
which is
picks and
absurd
stuff,
because I remember when they were just months ago, that store did a pick of theirs and it sat forever at what 80,
Oh yeah.
and now it's 100.
Oh, it's crazy. It's just insane.
I mean, it sat forever.
I mean, I feel like Heaven Hill started moving that bar for like their everyday product a while back and saying we're going to charge more, and everybody's following suit now. And I don't know.
You
I feel
really
like
gonna
it's-
put that on Heaven Hill? I think they're just trying to keep pace with Daddy Size and Buffalo Trace.
I don't know, because Buffalo Trace products seem like they're. I mean, we got a little breakout here, a little bit of a side topic, and I like this. Is what is a value? I guess when we taste this one, we'll see if it's a value. But like, you still get a regular Buffalo Trace on the shelf for what, $25-$30, and it's supposed to be 6 to 8 year old bourbon.
Well, should we go for our first notes? You know, for this little 100 proof bottle, I'm sure you're getting a lot of ethanol.
It's powerful,
Yeah.
but there's also a lot going on. There's like a dry, astringent, cherry forward, typical beam funk, right? You get a little bit of that peanut forward, earthy peanut forward cherry sweetness on the nose. I'm trying to find something bad, and I really can't. Other than it's going to hit you. It definitely noses up in proof.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm my things I'm picking out are a little bit of vanilla, like
a nutty vanilla.
There you go. You
Yeah.
guys both mentioned that. I definitely get that oak and that vanilla. That's really, it's hard for me to get past that. Maybe a little bit of something else, but I'm not sure what it is.
There's a lot of rich allspice going on in there. Even I'd be so bold to say there's a little cinnamon pop in there too.
I do like the nosing.
Yeah,
It is strong on the ethanol, but it is nice to nose. It's very rich. The notes that are there are rich.
Yeah. All right, so a little bit of history on the Knob Creek, though. It was one of the earliest settlements in Tennessee. One of the first settlers were named
Tennessee.
Yep, McCann,
Is this the same one?
Thane, McBee, and they were a self-sufficient community with several mills, a foundry, cotton spinning mill, blacksmith shops, post office, schools, and churches. It was a really religious town until a railroad, the C&O Railroad, was built through the middle of the community in 1905.
That's actually cool. That's not named after a like a person. It's more like a little region.
There's a community in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right.
When I guess is that when Kentucky's borders went further south?
That's right. So Kentucky's founded in 1792, whereas in Tennessee was founded in 1796. But looks like there's a lot of history behind Knob Creek brand, and I'm sure it was probably named after that. But
that's even neater that it was kind of like in quote Kentucky territory before it got the state lines were drawn.
Kentucky was massive before we were settlers.
Louisiana Purchase, right?
Right, absolutely.
and so it's like they brought that that little regional name. And they made a distillery out of it. Kentucky. It's pretty neat.
Of heaven,
that's a little different than most stories.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
really
it.
neat.
I don't have anything to add except for if...
Well, this is geography based, so I don't expect it.
Say, and I was going to say, if for some reason something is not correct, you're in good company, brother, because I mess it up all the time. So it's all good.
Should we go for our first taste?
Oh, that punches up for sure. A little proofier than I'd imagine at 100 proof nut forward. Right, you got that kind of beam funk earthiness. Not a lot of cane. There's a lot more cane sugar rather than top end sweetness. Not as much candy as I would expect on the nose.
I think the first thing I got was that funk. It almost tasted green, even though it's 9 years.
That beam funk is what we used, what people call it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, is earthy funkiness to it that's just really atypical for any bean product, right? You can find it in Booker's, you can find it in a lot of those old Knob Creek picks if it wasn't drowned out by something else, say like cherries or...
That's crazy, because normally we find that in a younger bourbon, and it's weird that this is 9 years.
Well, this is more of a maturated version of that. I think that earthiness can kind of turn green or grassy, whereas this one kind of turn the corner there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I get... it's almost like I've mentioned this note before, and hopefully I can recharacterize it. So if you eat shelled peanuts, but you have the skin of the peanut and that flavor that you get, which is almost a little bit bitter, but it's also peanutty.
So that little bit that kind of sticks to your teeth and you're like picking out later, and that bitterness that's drawn with it.
13% rye. This is a lot more spice than I would expect for 13% rye.
Let's talk about peanuts. I went to Logan's last time.
Oh, okay.
And you know what they're doing now? They give you bags of peanuts at the door.
To take it with you?
I guess at COVID. Oh. And I guess you take those to your table. Or they're like a souvenir to leave with. Oh, but you don't get the buckets of like communal peanuts anymore. And throw it on and there's nothing on the ground.
Shame on them for letting us not spread diseases.
I agree.
They should have held it at their core. That's what they should have done.
Do we know if is Five Guys still holding it down? Are they still doing the big bin of peanuts that you can scoop out at the beginning when you get your burger or not?
I don't know. I haven't been Five Guys in a long time.
I haven't either. No,
for some reason, I'd be more apt to get a bucket of Logan's peanuts before I stick my hands in that bucket of peanuts at Five Guys. Man, I don't know. It's just placement or something. But
I don't know. I think Five Guys might be more than you're going to spend more than Logan's.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, hey, great burger though, man. Yeah, great burger. I'm not going to diss them on anything other than peanuts, man. A little more sanitary on them peanuts, bro.
So, gentlemen, would you pass, try, or buy on the Knob Creek 9-year 100 proof bourbon?
It's going to be a big buy for me, man. I mean, for an everyday drinker, 100 proofer, it's not going to blow your socks off. I think it's a great entry level whiskey for those of you who may be proof sensitive or know somebody that may be proof sensitive. Great in the cocktail, great characteristics, right? You can get a lot of those the top end cherries, that weird earthy beam funk to follow where it's at 100 proof and drinking up. So I think it's a great all around bourbon. It's going to be hard to find anything to say bad about it.
I remember back in the day when we would always joke about Knob Creek and everyone had a pick and everything, and I remember for all of us when we did that pick episode of theirs, we were all kind of like not shocked, but we really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to say I'm probably gonna be a buy on this. Pretty much for everything Mossick said. Price, you can taste. It tastes fine. I'd be happy with this. I don't know if I'm going to pay a lot at a restaurant for it, but just at home, just kicking it, I say buy it.
All right. Well, we're known for one thing here at the Mashup, and it's controversy. So I am actually going to be a very, very controversial person.
You're going to trade
it. I'm not.
So what do you think you can get? We know there's people that like start with like a paperclip and end up getting like a car.
Yeah.
So what are you going to trade up for this?
I'm going to trade this for mellow corn. I'm just kidding. So I'm not going to lie. It's been a long time since I've had the standard Knob Creek, the small batch. This is what they've called their flagship product and everything else. And I think that I'm a product of that era where we got too many picks that were too well aged, and I got used to drinking them. I think at one time I had eight picks that were open that were between 12 and 16 years old. And I got so used to how great those tasted that it's kind of hard for me to go back. And I know I sound like a massive snob now, but like for this one, the earthiness to it and there's a lot of things I like about it, but I'll tell you this. I've been on record saying that if aliens came down from outer space and said, what does bourbon taste like? I would have handed them one of those Knob Creek picks and said, this is what bourbon tastes like. So I'm not dissing the brand or anything, but for this one, it just fell short for me. Like it just doesn't match up with my palate well for whatever reason. And so if I'm thinking about a $30 bourbon that I'm going to buy, I have others that I prefer, so I would probably pass on this one.
So you're grabbing a Weller from the back of Total Wine.
If I can get me some Weller Special Reserve for $22.99 bottle, yeah, it might be from 2017, but I might be getting one of those. So
could be old juice. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't usually would diverge like that, but I just this for whatever reason just fell a little bit short for me.
Nah,
and I mean that's being a little too critical, I guess, of a $30 bottle.
I think you're absolutely on point there with the match rated Knob Creek picks, and everybody did have one. It was kind of a joke, right? I mean, they were priced at $45,
we joked about it all the
$50.
time.
We joked about it all the time.
It was so available. The match.
I mean, Kroger, I think had. Who knows? I mean,
yeah, Kroger had 13, 14 picks Total Wine. Yeah.
And now, look, if they had any of those barrels sitting around, like if Total Wine had been Bogarting their Knob Creek pick for 14, 13, 12 year, and they put it out right now, it'd be gone in moments. There'll be posts about it. There'll be the taters lining up. Gone are those days. I mean, we were in a glut era of Knob Creek, right, in a way.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it was so hard to pay. And this is kind of the reasoning behind my disdain for modern pricing then, right, was because, man, why am I going to spend X amount of dollars on the 8-year when I can go to the store right here? It's a 14-year Knob Creek pick for $60. You know? I mean, this was, those were really good days, and I think you hit the nail on the head. So you're going to pass, Robert? What are you going to do?
I think I'm going to pass. I really do. I think I'm going to complete pass, which is
but you got to say, if you were out in like a cabin and had a nice rocks glass with some ice.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that
you don't enjoy it. You're saying for the money.
So, like, I think about other things that are in the price range. So, Four Roses makes, that small batch that's not the cast strength one. It's like 90-some proof. Elijah Craig's 94 proof, Buffalo Trace. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in the category to where when I'm doing my assessment, I'm comparing it to those things, and I feel like I'd rather have those. Sure. And so I'm not saying this is bad. Well, I'm just saying that I would pass on it because it's just not hitting the palate right for me. That's all.
Also, a lot of people probably have access to more Buffalo Trace products. I mean, not saying that people don't have access to this $30 Knob Creek 9, right? But if you're on the edge, if you ever pass this bottle up in the store, man, it's a $30 bottle of Knob Creek. It's only 100 proof. Hey, man, go ahead and pull the trigger, right? I mean, try it next to your Buffalo Trace at 90 proof. Try it against your Four Roses products, any competitor, and I think this will ring true for you. Definitely get that Beam Funk. Definitely something unique to have on your bar.
I know I was tailgating hopping over the weekend, and I got to one of them and tried some bourbons, and there's just a simple BT bottle, and it's just so good.
Yeah,
there was nothing. It was just a bottle, no pick. It was just the smell, noticing it and tasting it was so good.
It depends on what you're in the mood for, too, I think. And I sometimes do prefer that. Like, that's just what I'm in the mood for. I also will say one nice thing about this. This would definitely stand up very nicely and probably complement cocktails way better than some of those lower proof ones. So Maybe it's just that a sipping bourbon, I'm feeling the way I am.
Well, and if we're talking about tasting and perception, your perception at the game was probably surrounded by people you love, people you really care for, some really good people that was having good times. Hey, man, try this. I seen your podcast. You know, I'm a big fan. Here, have a pour on my Buffalo Trace. And that plays a lot into our perception of whiskey in general, right? I mean, I've remembered, like, vividly having really visceral reaction to this specific pour. And then I had it like by myself in a neutral setting at the house at the Igloo, and just be like, man, this wasn't like what I cracked it, myself up to be.
Yeah,
and that plays a lot into it. Like if your dopamine and endorphins are really high in a certain setting, and you're really vibing, and this whiskey is just hitting every spot. And your environment, you can have a lot of control on how you're perceiving a specific spirit, and I think that's also something to keep in mind moving forward for all your listeners.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Mashup KY. Also, let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comment section. Until next time, keep it neat.